Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a Brant County Council meeting of September the 28th. Attendance has been taken and we're all here. Is it the 26th? Oh yeah, 26, I'm sorry. Want me to start again? Attendance has been taken. Approval of the agenda, please. Anything to be added to the agenda or changed, Councillor House?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the interest of time, I'm wondering if we could move agenda item number 10.1, which relates to the Paris and District Chamber of Commerce request, up to right after the delegation, so they're not sitting through all of our other business.
Absolutely. Any other changes, Councillor Miller?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add one item under other business, please.
Thank you. Any other changes to the agenda? Seeing none, Councillor McAlpine?
Approval of the agenda as amended, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chambers.
All those are, no other comments? Everyone's clear? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Pecuniary interests, Councillor Garneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Conflict with 9.2 is our business in question. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Oakley.
Conflict on 9.2 as well.
Thank you. Any other conflicts? If they creep up, let me know. Let me know first. Moving on, 4.1, Ricky St. Paul. If you could come up, please, and state your name and your address, and you have up to 10 minutes to tell us everything you want us to know.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ricky St. Paul. I live on Montreal Drive, Burford, Ontario. The reason I'm here today is I've been living in Burford for pretty much 26 years. My kids went to school there. I pay my taxes. I did everything just as a normal citizen of Burford. I think if I have a problem, I'll go to the county to report to the whatever. I should be treated just as everyone else in that area. On the 29th of June, I had an MRI, and I was driving. I had to go to Brant General Hospital to do my MRI. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. That's my voice, something like that. Bad with the accent I have. And when I coming up on Golflink Road, on the corner of Golflink and Bishop Gate, there were pylons on the road with just paint the line on the corner of the street there. And when I get down on Bethel Road, it's actually 146 Bethel Road, it's just past the Bethel Church. There was a spot of paint in the road. It just fell off or something. You can tell it was off the garbage. Every time I see it and I drive, I can just feel like when you drive through water, it's just flat on my vehicle. And when I get to the hospital and in the parking lot, I look, the whole passenger side of my vehicle was just covered with white paint. I didn't really know what to do about it until when I went to the consular office. Not the consular, I'm sorry, the office in Brantford, and they tell me you should go report it to the county office. So on the 4th of July, I went to the county office and I spoke to a lady by the name of Lorraine. And she took the information down and she said, someone is going to get back to you. I actually even have the email that she sent me. Excuse me a second. Okay, so the email she sent, it says, thank Ricky, I had forwarded to Joe Murphy, Capital Project Manager, regarding road line paint issue with on your vehicle. She said, I never heard anything back from anyone. So on the 7th, I went back to the county office in Burford and I asked her again. She come out and I said, I was here last week and I told them complain about the paint on my car. She said, I wasn't here last week. I said, yes, you were. I spoke to you. No, I wasn't in the office on last week. I said, well, I have the email. Oh, yeah. I'm going to pass it on to someone and they'll get back to you. Never hear anything again. So finally, on the 17th, I went back And I asked her, I said, could I, no, she sent me an email, sorry. And the email said, "Hi Ricky, apologize for the delay in response. We suspect the paint on the road may have been from a can of paint compacted by the garbage truck last week. I remind staff that you are still waiting for a response. Never get anything back. Again. So I went in the office and I asked her, I said, look, she said, then Lorraine sent me a message. Thanks for your patience while we investigate the report of paint splatter on your vehicle. Staff had determined that the paint was not spilled during county road painting or the garbage truck. I replied, well, what next? Never hear anything. I went back on the 17th and I asked her, I said, look, could I have a schedule of when the road painting was done in the area and what day the garbage truck run, which the garbage truck does run on a Thursday. She said, okay, someone will get back to you. Never hear back anything. And that's when I went to the office again in Brantford and they said, you check the counselors in the area. And I get a hold of Mr. Dave Miller. And he said, someone will get back to me. Nothing again. I haven't received anything back from anyone. Then I went in on the 29th, on the 29th of July to pay my taxes. And as soon as I walk in, the lady looked at me and she said, are you here to see Lorraine? I said, well, I want to pay the taxes, but
Excuse me, sir. We can't have you using the staff's name.
Sorry.
Just let's call her just the girl at the front desk.
All right, the girl at the front desk. Okay, sorry. And she said she just come back in from lunch. I said, okay, well, let me pay the taxes. And yeah, she said, okay, so I pay my taxes. She said, let me get her fare. Then she stayed about 5 minutes. She said, she's on lunch. The same person that you said just walk in. She's on lunch. She wouldn't be back in for 45 minutes. But she said she passed the information on to another staff member and they'll get back to you. Never hear back from no one. Until Mr. David Miller was the only one that come out, look at my vehicle. I still have the paint on my vehicle. I could try and take in as much as I can. I take it to Ford. Ford said the only way I can get most of the paint out is I have to use a resin to take it off. But if I use the resin, it's going to damage the paint on the car. I have overspray paint on the inside of the seat of my vehicle. On the rims of my car, still have the paint on it. Until finally, I think it was the 20. When was it? On the 29th, April, what am I doing here? Yeah, June the 29th. Not June the 29th, I messed my date up, sorry. August the 11th is when Mr. Miller said they come to a decision they was not going to do anything about the paint on my vehicle. So did anyone get back to you on it? I said, no, I haven't heard from anyone. Until it was about Minister 7 at night when I get the letter from the staff member to tell me, yes, we didn't. It's not, the paint was not from the anything to do with the county road paint or the garbage truck. And my vehicle still have paint on it. And I know a can of paint ain't going to fall off from the sky. And when you look at the way the paint is on the road, it is. The way the paint falls, it falls like if it's squeezed and a drop. And for them to say, hey, well, hey, you know what? The county have nothing to do with it. Well, I know I see there was paint in the road that day. And she said there was not doing any painting on the road that day. I drove around the pylon to go to get my stuff done. So who is lying? I mean, if I go to say I want to sell my vehicle is covered in paint, I wouldn't get nothing for it. I think it's unfair. And all I'm asking is that somebody stand some responsibility or say something. And when you go to the county office, I think they should stand there and listen to you instead of avoiding you and lying to you. Because that's what I think what happened to me. Because I've been lied to and they avoid talking to me when I went in there. and that's not right. I really appreciate it. I thank you very much for your time. I should have, sorry, she showed me how to do this. I have some videos of my vehicle with the paint on it. Am I good?
Well, I think we have a picture in our package of your car. We see where the paint's been rubbed off and where it's in the cracks and in the tread. I think I'm going to pass it over to committee to see what they want to do with it, council. The claim has been rejected by the county, and that's where we stand right now. So there has been a claim, and it's being rejected. Councillor Miller,
I thought maybe we could do some questions, Mr. Mayor, first.
you can, absolutely.
Okay.
You can go first.
Thank you. Three to Mr. St. Paul. Ricky, did you said you drove around some pylons the day you got the paint on your vehicle? What were the pylons there for?
They were where they just paint the corner of the stop sign. They had the pylon sitting there where they just painted the line on the corner of Golf Link and Bethel Road there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing no other questions, what do you want to do with the delegation? Councillor Miller?
Mr. Mayor, I'll put it on the floor, but I ask that this matter be referred to staff to settle Mr. St. Paul's claim in a fair, equitable, and expeditious manner, and that the outcome of this be communicated to council via Friday file.
Thank you. Seeking a seconder? Councillor Oakley? Councillor Chambers, you want to speak to it?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. The last thing I want to do is have Ricky come back and say nobody got back to him. Somehow he has to be kept in the loop. He may not understand that this is referred to and that a report is coming back. I suspect to a council or committee, and if any correspondence or any report, I would hope that the delegation is kept in the loop, so he doesn't have to feel that nobody's getting back to him. And then when the report comes back, we can deal with that at the time. I think I understand the resolution. It's not saying that we pay the claim, it's saying that we receive information about the claim. And then the decision will be made after the report is received.
That's right. So we have it on the floor with Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Oakley. Any other questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. So we will take it back to staff, and we'll keep you in the loop and let you know what's going on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We're now going to go to 4.2, which is the Paris and District Chamber of Commerce. Ladies, you have 10 minutes. And if you'd like to state your name and your address, just for the clerk.
Hi, I'm Sue Morton, 178 Scott Avenue in Paris.
And I'm Sherry Barna, 10 College Street in St. George.
And we are here representing the Paris and District Chamber of Commerce. I'm the executive director. Sherry is a director, and she's our marketing chair. We had hoped that Heidi Gorder would be here today as well, but she's not with us, and she's part of the St. George Business Association, as is Sherry Barna. So this request is to have the county recognize an event that we're planning at the end of October as being municipally significant. And this is going to be called Brant Eats. It's a food and drink expo. The plan is to hold it at the St. George Community Center in the Gockel Banquet Hall upstairs that has a capacity of 300 people. We are inviting local food and drink vendors. I'm going to let Sherry just speak to you for a moment about an event that they did. She and a networking group that she works with did in Brantford before the pandemic that kind of made us think that this is something that we could be doing to support our community. So, Sherry.
All right, so I'm not sure if anyone ever went to Brantford Bites. It was like the best thing happening in Brantford in 2019. It was a really fun food and drink night, basically, where local restaurants and breweries and wineries got together, gave out free samples. Well, free because they paid the ticket to get in, and then we just were exposed to a whole bunch of new restaurants and breweries and stuff like that, and it was a blast. Not only was it good for the community, but when I talked to the businesses afterwards, they had a really positive response, not just because the night was really fun, but because they were introduced to a whole bunch of people who actually didn't know they even existed. So it was a really good marketing opportunity for them. And we believe we can do the same thing, but shine the light on county businesses. And that's the whole goal of this, to highlight our amazing local vendors. We have amazing local cuisine. We have a winery right in St. George. We have a handful of breweries, cideries and stuff like that. So we just want to focus on that and just shine a light on the amazing things we have going on in the county.
Thanks, Sherry. So I think the capacity is between 30 and 34 vendors that we can get in the space. We will be reaching out to vendors to register, local vendors. We're going to reach out to the ones that we think might like to join us. We want to make sure we've got a good mix. We'll be talking to local restaurants, delicatessens, caterers, to bring them out. We know that our food and beverage restaurants or vendors took a big hit during the pandemic. We know it was a particularly hard time for them. And we know that what we call the shoulder months, slower tourism months are tough on them. So the idea here is to try to drive sales, as Sherry said, create local interest. We've got a lot of new residents in the community. This would be a nice way to bring everybody together, create a sense of community between longtime and new residents, and show them what we've got out there to offer, because we want to keep the focus on shopping local. We really feel that's important. So in order for us to be able to get the proper permitting that we need from AGCO, we do need, this would be considered a public special event permit that we would be applying for, that would allow us to have the donated samples. We would also be able to have a cash bar as well. So in order to stay on side with AGCO rules, the municipality would need to designate this as being a municipally significant event. Heidi, come on. She's here. Sorry, I'm just going to get Heidi to introduce herself, not to put you on the spot, but just real quick. Just say hi.
Hi, I'm Heidi Gorder from Dragonfly. I'm here representing the St. George Business Association.
Thank you. So it would be a partnership between the Paris District Chamber of Commerce and the St. George Business Association. The Economic Development Group at the County of Brant has graciously offered to sponsor the event space and the special permit from the county. So they are covering those costs. We thank them very much for that consideration. So now if we're able to get council to agree to this, then we're going with this. And we actually would like to make this an annual event. If it's a success, we'd like to be able to move it around the county. Having said that, we know that there's not a lot of large venues in the county, so that's something else that we'd like to speak to someday, is having some larger venues available to us so we could move it around and make it accessible to, Burford, and so they don't think it's always Paris-centric. So that's why we wanted it in St. George this year. Put a focus on another community within the county. And I think going forward, we would look to do that again, move it around. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the delegation? Seeing none, Councillor Howes.
Mr. Mayor, do you want me to make my motion from 10.1 now, or refer this to 10?
I want you to defer it first of all.
Okay, so for now, I suggest we push this over to the 10.1 portion of our agenda, which will happen after these delegations.
Perfect. Seeking a seconder. Councillor Kyle. Any other questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. And now we're going to jump right up to 10.1. And Councillor Howes, you're going to speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Oakley. Whereas in order to be eligible for a special occasion permit from the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, Brant Eats Food and Drink event must be declared a municipally significant event. And whereas Brant Eats Food and Drink events stands to be a municipally significant event in terms of its tourism contribution to the community, that Brant Eats Food and Drink event scheduled for October 27th of this year at the Gaukel Community Center be declared a municipally significant event for the purposes of obtaining a special occasions permit.
Thank you. Seeking a seconder. Councillor Pierce. Any other discussion? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Good-
you. And
good
thank
luck
you,
with your
Councillor
event.
House, for moving up the motion as well. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. Takes us to 4.3, accessibility issues. Ed, how are you? Good. It's been a while. So if you want to just tell us your name, Ed, and
accessibility. I've fallen like 13 times out of my wheelchair around this area, at home, hitting sidewalks or little curbs, and just getting stuck in gravel. And that's why I have 4 or 5 wheelchairs now, because I play tennis for the ITF Tennis Federation with Tennis Canada, and I do pair throws as well. And I'm trying to go into Olympics next year for 2 different categories. So that's why I brought a wheelchair for anyone who wishes to try to push around, because what I found walking everywhere was so easy. But when you have momentum and you hit a 1-inch curb or an indentation, if you don't have any core, you fall forward or backward. And that's why I like the opportunity for anyone to try it now while you're young and strong, because if everyone wants to live another 25 or 30 years, we're all going to end up in a chair eventually. So I would like, to give the opportunity for people to try it, because my track coach said I'm the strongest quadriplegic in Canada. So, and I have a tough time pushing through certain areas. Like I have a park, the Rust Acres Park, which is gravel. And I know council, I've spoken to council, and they say it's on the agenda to be paved. But one thing I've learned about being an entrepreneur and having my own construction company, nothing is done until it's done. And I would like anyone to go and try to push on gravel and see, because I have an 8-year-old daughter and I can't go to the park with her because I'm too tired to go on the gravel. So I'm missing out on all my daughters growing up. Like I have one son in med school, I have one son who's an RN, and I have one son who's in engineering. So I just don't want to I'm upset that I'm hurt, but I believe my purpose is trying to help, maybe not myself, but other people who are more disabled. Because I noticed there's at least 10 houses in the neighborhood that all have wheelchair ramps, but I'm the only person that goes outside to the park because no one else can access it. And so I just feel bad for those people. Any questions?
are there any questions for council? Councillor Howard, you're first.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for coming in, and it's always eye-opening to hear from people who are directly involved. My question for you is, have you prepared kind of a list of suggestions for improving how we can serve people with various disabilities, and have you shared, if that list exists, have you shared that with our accessibility committee?
I did share a few things at the previous accessibilities meeting a few weeks ago. So on September 11th, I remember that because that was my birthday. So I remember that, and I shared it with Lucas, and he knows my oldest son who's in med school. So, and I don't mind giving my inputs on things because I still have all my connections in construction. I've owned 19 houses, so I'm very familiar with land ownership, and I'm fortunate enough that my company is very successful, and I retired as a multimillionaire. But since then, I've spent a lot of money to try to make things more accessible for myself and my family.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just through the mayor,
But I would be glad to give any input. Anyone can send me an email anytime. I'm up at 5 a.m. every day.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that you've connected with our accessibility
Yes.
committee and that there's ongoing dialogue.
Yes.
Councillor Oakley, you're next.
Through the mayor to Mr. Solak, thank you for coming out and speaking here. Your delegation to the accessibility committee was eye-opening. I've had conversations with our accessibility staff since then about engaging with that policy, and like you had said, 1-inch curbs don't seem significant to us when it's on a sidewalk or a little indentation, but when you're wheeling around in the wheelchair that you loaned us, it is a little bit of a different experience. I do have a question though through to staff in regards to the paving of that park. Where is it on our schedule, and when might we expect to see it?
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. We just recently had an accessibility audit done of all of our parks and rec facilities. So we will be coming back. We can report back on where that would be in the timelines and deliver that through a Friday file to staff or to council. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you again for coming, Mr. Solak.
Thank you.
Councillor Miller, you're next, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of questions. Three to Ed. Yeah, as the other two councilors said, I thank you for coming in. Sometimes it can be a little daunting coming in and talking, so I appreciate it. You said you made a delegation to the accessibility committee. I take it you're not on the committee?
No, that was my first time because with COVID, everything was shut down, and then I do tennis lessons 4 days a week, and then I have 2 tennis tournaments coming up, so my schedule is very busy. Like I fly to Fredericton for a tennis event with Tennis Canada, and then I go to the Nationals in Halifax right after that. So, and then hopefully I can go to Paris and get my card to qualify for the Olympics. So I'm shooting for 2024.
Okay, I know. So you're okay.
But I'm still in contact. Like I've only been to one meeting. So, and the next meeting is, I believe, on the 15th or 16th of October, and that's the night I fly back in from the Nationals. So.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I'm going to ask you one question. It's kind of an open-ended question, then I'll follow up. But what did you think would happen when you came here tonight? What were you expecting?
I would expect just for everyone just to have an open ears, and maybe maybe just try to sit in someone else's shoes. Like I don't expect everyone to try the chair, but if you're more than willing, you can try it. Because people are always going to do what people are always going to do. Like I'm not here to push anyone. I'm just here to give a few suggestions, and hopefully the outcome will make Brant County more accessible for the future generation.
Okay. I would like to hear that you are here. I'd like to hear you say that you were here to push us, because I think we do need to be pushed.
Okay.
I sat on the accessibility for 10 years, and I would have loved to have somebody like you with your energy, your enthusiasm, and your background sitting on that committee. They meet every month. It's not a huge time demand, but at the same time, when things have to get done, it's always easier to do it before they get built, before it gets constructed, before it gets planned. And that's where the accessibility really helps. So I asked what you expected tonight. I just wanted to hear your thoughts, simply because accessibility, as you know, it's a tough road to hoe. It's a hard road to hoe, and it takes time and it takes money. But you have to start somewhere, and that's putting the nose to the grindstone and going to these meetings and just helping out where you can. So glad to hear that you're thinking about it. do know that we do support accessibility. I don't know. I would say I'm pretty sure we don't do everything we can as a council, but please just never stop hounding us.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? So, seeing no other questions, I'd just like to say it's nice to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to see you as
Yeah,
well.
it's been a long time. And everyone in the room that's been following me on social media knows that my mother has been in a chair now for 3 years. And I go to see her every day. And I try to take her places to the dollar store. I used to take her to McDonald's and other places. And I've nearly dumped her 1,000,000 times.
Yes.
Things that look like they're safe are not safe. Things that are small tilts are huge tilts when you're pushing someone. And me having, limitations to how much strength I have because of my chest and having heart surgery, you can only do so much. And I always thought that it was going to be simple and it was an easy thing to take your mother from a nursing home to the next building, which is McDonald's at the time. And it's not easy and it's not fun and it's very scary for those that are in the chair. So I am on the accessibility committee and I invite you to join the accessibility committee.
Yes.
We would like that very much. I would love for you to be there, Ed. So if there's nothing else to be said,
I just have one comment to be made. If you have 50 projects on the line, nothing will get done. So it's always best to prioritize your top 3 and put all your efforts into that, and then you will get the project done. Because when I was working construction, I had 3 different condo sites with 6 different crews running, and I was on the tools. You just have to organize which location takes priority, and then you just do one simple task at a time, and then you have the satisfaction of a completion. Because if you try to do 20 projects all at once and can't complete any, the public will be mad at you. But if you can complete one project, then the public will be happy. It always starts with just the first one.
it's like eating an elephant, Ed, one bite at a time.
Yes. Thank you.
Anyway, thank you very much. What does committee want to do with this delegation? Councillor Howes?
Move to receive and refer to the accessibility committee.
Thank you. Seeking a seconder. Councillor Oakley. All those in favor? Opposed? And I would have gotten your chairs, but you know what? It wouldn't have been pretty, Ed. I don't know that I could have gotten out of it, so. Takes us to 4.4, which is Cam Johnson from Millards. And I think I have a motion to go overtime here too. Councillor Kyle?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller that the delegation from Cameron Johnson from Millard Chartered Professional Accountants be allotted time in excess of the 10-minute time limit.
Seeking a seconder. Councillor Pierce. All those in favor? The time is allowed. Hi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. And again, my name is Cameron Johnson. I'm a partner with Millards. And it's my privilege tonight to present the audited financial statements of the Corporation of the County of Brant for the year ended December 31, 2022. You've received a copy of the statements plus also a report to the members of council. Just like to highlight quickly just a couple quick points related to that, the letter for the report to council. And you can see with the financial statements, we do bring forward, it's an unqualified report, so it is a clean audit opinion. We always confirm with the municipality that we are independent, so that there is no association between us, our firm, our partners, or our staff, and the county. Also, is the fee related to the county audit is not material to Millards. It also highlights briefly is the responsibilities of management throughout the course of the audit. One of the things that we do get from management is discussion related to various representations throughout the course of the audit. And we also have at the end of the conclusion of the audit is a formal letter of representation that is signed by senior staff. Some of the reportable matters, we've not noted any significant changes in accounting policies throughout the year, no significant unusual entries. Materiality, we always take a look at materiality. It's impossible to do an audit of every single dollar in an entity this large, so you assign what's considered to be a level of materiality. That materiality level is about $1.5 million. And then we start to take a look at differences that we discover throughout the course of the audit. We have a threshold of what would be considered a trivial difference, but we report this year that working with Heather Mifflin, treasurer and staff, that anything that was discovered throughout the course of the audit was adjusted in the audited financial statements. So we don't have any matters that go to what's considered to be unadjusted differences on the financial statements, which is very good. Even if we had, they would have been very small. Yeah, no significant misstatements. Internal controls, we update our documentation related to internal controls every year as far as the audit is concerned. This year we had some significant changes to our reporting related to internal controls, and a lot of that was focusing around IT controls. And we've been working with Heather in the IT department to update the controls, procedures in place related to information technology. And throughout the course of the audit this year, we did not discover any significant deficiencies in internal control. We also, throughout the course of the audit, we did not have any difficulties during the audit. Everything worked very well, and I'd like to report, through the Treasurer's Office, we received excellent cooperation during the audit and after the audit, and as well as all the information that we requested, it was all received in a timely manner. So a very good audit for the year. Now, I'll just like to highlight a few points on the financial statement itself. So again, this is a consolidated financial statement. It's our page 4 of the financial statement is highlighting the consolidated statement of financial position. So if you have a business, this is your balance sheet related to it. So it's our assets and our liabilities. A couple of changes, you'll see that there's a significant change in our cash equivalent balance in the current year. We've gone from 26 million down to 2 million, but I highlight the next line as well as our investments have gone from 38 million up to 64 million. So the excess cash that we had last year, if you remember last year, December 21, interest rates were, I don't know, GIC's quarter 1%, maybe 1%. This year, world of interest rates have changed. We're seeing investments at the end of the year now, and that's why the money's been moved into GIC's. Interest rates for the current year, we have ranging from 1.01%, I think, up to about 5.05% at GIC. So the cash that is available is actually earning some interest throughout the year. You can see our taxes receivable has gone up a bit. I noticed last year with the current year, our taxes were about 74% the current year taxes receivable. This year, taxes receivable are about 85% in the current year. So it's not the old taxes that have increased this, it's the current taxes that have changed. Couple of other items, the boundary adjustment, again, that's dealing with the city of Brantford. This adjustment changes, there's payments that are made throughout the year, plus there is also a slight change in the present value calculation considering the change in the interest rates. And we'll see a number going the opposite direction in a few minutes. Accounts payable. Accounts payable has gone up a bit. We've gone from 20 up to 29 million from $23 million. That's all a question of timing of most of the year-end payables. Current holdbacks are higher this year, as well as accruals, and security deposits are also up. And a lot of it is just timing of when projects are done and completed and the invoices are paid. We'll highlight briefly our deferred revenues, our obligatory reserve funds. You can see 24 million up to almost 31 million. Those are the items that you receive money specifically for certain projects. For example, the federal gas tax has to be used for certain projects, so it's part of the obligatory reserves, obligatory deferred revenues. We have the building department charges, development charges, recreational land. These monies are all been received for specific projects or for qualifying projects. So until those monies are spent, they're sitting as a liability in the financial statements. That's why we have them showing up as deferred revenues obligatory under financial liabilities. Long-term liabilities, we report that I don't think there was no new financing in the current year in 2022. So our net long-term liability payables, you can see, is 45 million, down from almost $49 million. Tangible capital assets on the non-financial assets section. We've actually had additions this year of about $47 million in tangible capital assets. Yeah, 46,893,000 compared to 35,920,000 the year before. So a significant expenditure on tangible capital assets. The next page is our statement of operations and accumulated surplus. And again, as everyone's aware, that these financial statements are presented on a full accrual basis. So these are really no different than an actual business set of financial statements. They're not recognizing cash received and cash dispersed. We have total revenues, 137 million compared to last year of 124. Expenditures, 96 million compared to 87 million. So overall, you can see our income in the year before amortization and capital asset related matters is 40,506,000 compared to 37. Again, we recognize our amortization, so that's our depreciation of our tangible capital assets. The county has almost 17,600,000 compared to 16, and our annual surplus at the end of the year, remarkably close to the year before, 24,495,000 compared to 24,379,000. And again, that's a full accrual basis, so that's not recording an expense. The tangible capital assets, $45 million, are not recorded in this. They're recorded as a capital asset, and then they're being depreciated over time. And the depreciation is recognized as an expense. I think council's aware, the treasurer's provided a report earlier where the actual operating surplus, the cash, the regular funded surplus was only about $116,982 in the year. The similar effect to that was the year prior is we also had a significant expenditure. No, we had a significant income 2 years ago related to the annexation of the land with the city of Brantford. So we had a massive income 4 years ago, probably 2018. So, which under a cash basis, that wouldn't have shown up. That would have just been shown as the income received each year. We recognized the entire amount and then booked it as a receivable. That's the difference between full accrual and cash basis. The next page just briefly highlights the changes in net financial assets. So you can see where you have acquisition of tangible capital assets, almost 47 million. Contributed capital assets through development basically is 2.8 million. Gain losses on disposition of assets, etc. So this ends up with our net financial assets or deficit in the year of $21 million. The last page I'd like to highlight pretty well is the cash flows. This is just our sources and uses of cash for the year. So again, it's discussed earlier, we've gone from $26 million down to $2.1 million. But again, the majority of that is sitting in investing activities. So our purchase of GICs, etc. this year, $26 million increase in investments compared to the year before of $1.3 million of increase in investments in the year. The notes to the financial statements, I believe, are fairly self-explanatory. They highlight some of the significant items. Our reserves, our reserve funds, the obligatory development charges that we set in place that we've already discussed. Highlight briefly is our other income on note 16, sources and uses of cash, and then also highlights some of the reconciliations as far as going from a cash budget to operating full accrual budget. And then the last page of the statements shows us our tangible capital assets for the year, so how we've spent our money and what the basis is, the different capital assets that the county has. Now, I guess, may I ask through the mayor if there's any questions related to the financial statements?
Absolutely. Are there any questions for Cam? Councillor Bell, you're first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Cam. I'm looking at page 5 of your report, I think it is. Yeah, it's the consolidated statement of operations and accumulated surplus. What I see on there is a line for budget and a line for actual, and there's such a difference. We spend a lot of time each year trying to get a budget right, and then when I see that when we compare actuals with budget, at least in this format, we're miles off. So how should we approach budgeting, and what should I take from this page?
Well, Through the mayor, this budget that is reflected in here is representative of the county's budget and modified for a full accrual basis. It's not the budget that you actually see during the year and how you're assessing the operations. That's the budget that is approved earlier in the year that is not modified for full accrual financial statements. So, and that one is the one where, comparison to budget, I think the treasurer can highlight this. How were you this year compared to budget? Treasurer, Heather? Thank you. How is the budget compared to actual in the current year? We have a surplus of $116,000. So just highlighting those numbers.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Chair. So similar or back to the operating surplus, we were very close to being on budget this year. The other key piece to these budget figures comparably to the actuals is the budget is only operating, where the actuals include are the county plus the John Noble, part of the John Noble is consolidated in, the BIA and the library. So it's got a number of different factors, so the comparability of the actuals and the budget isn't quite as clear as it should be, but I'm not sure if we mush the budgets together, it would be any more help.
Okay, thank you for that. Through the mayor, I find it somewhat confusing. I've worked with financial reports before. Is there a way we can give a simple statement to our residents about the financial health of our county? And I say that given that we've got all kinds of adverse winds blowing at us or about to blow at us, and it would be helpful if we could say how we stand financially and what the immediate future looks like.
Do you want that to come back from staff?
I think staff probably right. It's probably not fair to ask Cameron.
Staff, no, it's not fair. Heather, do you want to come back up? Two Heathers are better than one.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we could work through a different kind of document that maybe provided a little more comparability. That is something that we could look into in the future.
As you all know, we are working on the financial plan. A big part of that is going to be talking about how we go forward in terms of what we report to you, how we report to the public. We are looking at some other models some municipalities are using that really make it a lot more plain language. This is a very technical document, the financial statements, and probably not the best avenue to start reporting out to the public on where the county sits financially. But we do absolutely hope to be putting some very concise and, some digestible pieces going forward for the public.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that'd be really helpful, Heather. Just the page on investments. I mean, suddenly you see it appears that we have 50% more in investments than we had a year ago. Without the interpretation and the detail that Cam has given, you could walk away saying, oh, the county's got $24 million it can spend. Oh, that's really good. Well, the answer is, of course, it's not. Yeah. So I think we need something that just puts it in very simple, plain language to let people know, are we in good financial position, and with a view to the future as well. So the plan, when we have it, will be really helpful.
Yeah, and a lot of these puzzle pieces, when we come forward with this plan, honestly, a part of that is going to be making sure that we have the in-house financial resources we need in order to present this information. Because, right now we are very lean. We have, people doing multiple jobs. We don't have a lot of people who can put the time and effort into providing these, these professional kind of higher level reports and just making things into a much better presentation for council and the public.
Any other questions? Councillor Chambers, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Cameron. I got a couple of questions. The first question, I'm going to ask them both at the same time, and you can answer it one after the other. First question is, I know you've been doing this a long time for the County of Brant. I'm just wondering if you can actually tell us how long you've been doing this for the County of Brant. I know every year you look exactly the same, and I look about 10 years older every year. So I know you've been there doing this a long time. And every year I ask you the same question that Councillor Bell just asked, and that's, I'm going to ask it a little bit different. From an auditor's perspective, how would you describe the financial position of the municipality? And every year I ask kind of a snapshot. I'm going to ask a little bit different this year. How do you see the trends of our financial health as a municipality? Are we trending good? Are we trending bad? And maybe if we are trending good, why? And if we're trending bad, why?
Okay, so through the mayor. I started with the county audit when I was a student. Barry Wright was the partner. Barry Wright was the partner for several years on this engagement. I started actually presenting the statements while Barry was still the partner on the engagement. He was never a big fan of standing up and talking to people. So I've continued on as partner since I became partner with the firm. So in total, I've been involved with this almost 30 years in grand total since being a student. What we brought on is we have brought on different managers. Whitney, who actually started as a student working out at the county office, is now a partner with our office, and Whitney is the one that is overseeing the audit now on a go-forward basis. So next question, how are you doing? So things have changed quite a bit over the last 10 years. Are you improving? I'd say absolutely. We've got this, I'm just trying to dig up my one scribble note. Back in 2000, I dug it up today, 2014, when I was presenting the statements, we had a consultant standing right over there. And what he had made the comment for the councillors that were there, that was dealing with the development of the Southwest, getting the water up the hill, getting the water and the sewer up the hill for the councillors that remember this. And that consultant stood there and said, there's no way you will ever recover that money that you have spent on that project. Well, back then, 2014, we actually expensed $20,131,583 because that was the amount of money that you spent specifically related to that project that was not going to be recovered. Well, that balance today, we've kept it, the finance staff have kept it as a scorecard and have been maintaining that balance and the actual amount of revenues that you've been receiving on those expenditures. So the development charges that have been received. And we kept it as a note to the financial statements. That balance at the end of 2022 was $2,868,989. So something 2014 that was going to be impossible is now almost been fully recovered, which is very impressive. As operationally, I think things are excellent. There's always a cash issue. So there's always been a cash issue, a little bit, and it's only a cash issue if you're going to realize everything all at once. We have obligatory, again, I got a scribble note, excuse me just 1 second. So our cash balance in the current year, if you include just the investments and looking at your cash and cash equivalents at $2 million, and that's what's needed for regular operations on a daily basis. So you're looking at your cash balance, your investments of $64,860,000. And then you start to take a look at, well, where's that money? Can we spend it? The one Councillor Bell made the comment, can we spend that money? Well, not really. That money is somewhat earmarked already. So of that, we have our our obligatory reserve funds and our development charges that are supposed to be spent on specific projects, and that's including the federal gas tax, etc. That's about $30 million, and that's recognized in the statements. That gives us down to a cash balance of around $34 million. Of that $34 million, we have reserve funds of about $61,000, where council has sort of earmarking some expenditures in the future to be undertaken. Well, we don't quite have the cash to pay for that. Is it improving annually? Yeah, absolutely, it is improving. This year's down a little bit over the year before, but it had been a significant improvement over the last 10 years. And that's the key. Like when we look at these statements on a full accrual basis, we always consider it as looking at the cash. Operationally, I think Heather's highlighted that point already, is operationally you're meeting your budget. Your budget is put in place and it is approved by council to satisfy the operations of the county, and you're incredibly close to your budget in the current year operationally. So yes, things are going well.
And just to follow up, hopefully, Cam, in 10 years from now, you'll be asked that same question by somebody and you'll have a similar answer, hopefully.
You can ask Whitney that question in 10 years.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Cam? Seeing none, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
What are we going to do with the delegation? Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Chambers, that the report to the members of Brant Council and the consolidated financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022 be received as information.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Takes us to 4.5 on the agenda, which is the Brant Municipal Enterprises Annual General Meeting of the Shareholders. As Mayor and as Chair, I declare the 2022 Annual General Meeting of the Shareholders for the Brant Municipal Enterprises open, and I call on Adam to give the report.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Welcome to the Annual General Meeting of Brant Municipal Enterprises for the year 2022. My name is Adam Crozier. I'm the Acting Chief Executive Officer of Brant Municipal Enterprises. I've been in the role since the beginning of June. With me tonight are the two other executive officers of Brant Municipal Enterprises, who are Heather Bailey, who's our treasurer, and Elisa Dijak, who is our secretary to the board of directors, along with the three members from Brant County Council who are appointed to the board of directors, Mr. Mayor serving as the chair, and councillors Bell and Pierce. So the overall story of 2022 for Brant Municipal Enterprises was a transitional year. As included in the annual report, you'll note that the fiber optic division was sold in 2021, and that generated much of the operating revenue for Brant Municipal Enterprises. The enthusiastic part about 2022 was sort of the regeneration of the energy division. There was a lot of latency, a lot of program changes through change in provincial government in 2018. But many of these have been reversed, and ultimately, I think we see a bright future for the energy side of the business. It was a much more of a development year, and I think when someone is standing here in 2024 presenting the 2023 annual report, you'll see a lot of the positive steps that are happening. So financially, the company had a net loss, which I believe is the first year that is actually incurred a net loss of $155,165. That said, it did contain to have retained earnings of $4,086,264, primarily derived from the sale of the fiber optic division. The proceeds of that are being invested in short-term GICs in order to maintain the balance. And as just heard in the previous delegation, the interest rates on GICs are very positive, and that money is safe, secure, and growing for the future of Brant Municipal Enterprises. So aside from that, the one main focus coming up towards the end of 2023 is the recruitment of a new full-time chief executive officer. The posting went out about a week ago and closes sometime in mid-October. There's also other things related to that on the agenda this evening. But other than that, I present the annual report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Adam? Councillor Houser first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Adam. Adam, I'm always pleased to see under the corporate objectives, items number 4 and 5, the 4 being and this is for the benefit of people that might be tuning in and not reading the full report. But number 4 is to identify new opportunities, investments, and relationships that will have positive business and social impacts for the county. And number 5 is to invest in business activities which can add value to county residents while creating new revenue streams for the county. And I think you know where I'm heading with this. And so can you clarify for us the process by which we could start to try and aim this productive enterprise towards affordable housing? And you mentioned that the organization is in a period of transition right now, and some of the energy and the fiber optics, things are changing. And based on those corporate objectives, it seems to me like a good alignment for us to be always looking for opportunities. And I know that availability of county-owned land or land that might be available to the county is a key element. But my specific question is, what's the process by which for us to aim this group that way?
Through your worship, I would suggest, I think similarly, I think I provided that in earlier in September, probably very much in a similar vein. The council can make a resolution that the board of directors investigate these sort of things. As well, you can look to the 3 members that you've appointed to the board to bring these matters forward. I know that the land development era sort of strategic priority has been focused very much on the health hub, and that's been tremendously successful. So I think that's probably your best means to provide that, advice or direction, depending on which way you'd like to frame it, to the board of directors of Brant Municipal Enterprises to investigate that element of their strategic priorities.
Anyone else? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Adam. I used to call Brooke once or twice a year and bounce ideas off her. She was always good for that. Who do I call now?
Me? Sean?
Okay. You said the new direction. You talked about maybe some more real estate and whatnot. But then you also mentioned we're getting back into energy. I understand energy storage might be on the books. Is there anything you can talk about that or update us on?
Certainly, through your worship. One of the more exciting things, I suppose, when you're presenting the 2022 annual report, you don't want to get too much into current operations, but no, we're very excited. There is the potential of the use of the landfill as a site for a large battery storage project. The IESO, which governs energy policy in the province, has released a request for proposals for large battery storage. This is the first one that will be a more regulated process. The first one was actually an expedited process that focused on the Southwest, obviously with the significant increase in greenhouses in the sort of the Windsor, Leamington, Essex area. Much of the storage was there. The exciting thing is that it captures the excess capacity that wind or nuclear produce during the off-peak hours, stores it, and then is released back into the grid. Very much in line with the early days of the FIT contract in order to promote that investment from larger companies. Municipalities and Indigenous groups have a large stake in that as well, from the IESO's perspective. So that is, I guess, the sort of the bun in the oven of Brant Municipal Enterprises right now, is to examine how that works and to not steal the thunder, but more information will be coming to council in probably the next month or so about that.
Okay, thank you. It's nice to hear about it, and I'm going to call you this week.
Okay.
Any other questions for Adam? Seeing none, I'd like to call on Councillor Bell.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Pearce that the Brant Municipal Enterprises Annual Report 2022 be received as presented, and that the Brant Municipal Enterprises Annual Financial Statements for the year ended December 31, 2022 be received as presented.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed and carried. As the chair, I declare the 2022 Annual General Meeting of the shareholders of the Brant Municipal Enterprises closed.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam. Number 5 are the adoption of minutes from the previous meeting. Councillor Garneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chambers that the County of Brant Special Council minutes of July 18th, County of Brant Council minutes of July 25th, and the County of Brant Council minutes of September 12th be approved.
Are there any questions on either set of minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we'll go on to 7.1, which is consent items to be approved. Now we have 10 of them, and I believe Councillor Oakley wants to separate 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to vote on 4 to 10. No one else wants anything else pulled? Everyone's clear? Call the vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Kyle, you have that.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bell that items 7.2.4 through 7.2.10 be received as information.
All those in favor? Opposed? And then you were handed out on this colored piece of paper, 7.2, 7.2.1, 0.2, and 0.3, all going to be delivered by Councillor Oakley. You can begin.
Thank you, Mayor Bartley. The resolution is in front of everyone, and with permission, I will just read the therefore clauses.
All right.
Perfect. All right, so in regards to 7.2.1, the resolution would be as follows. Therefore, it be resolved that the County of Brant supports the resolution shared by the town of Grimsby, and be it further resolved that the County of Brant circulate correspondence to Ontario municipalities, encouraging them not only to collect data on their housing and poverty statistics, but also to examine their pending economic vulnerability as a result. And be it further resolved that the County of Brant encourage these same municipalities to join us in advocating on behalf of our communities with this data, and by writing a letter to the Prime Minister, Premier, and local politicians calling for a united effort in establishing a guaranteed livable income program.
Seeking a seconder. Councillor Howes. Any questions? Councillor Chambers?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to support the resolution, not that I don't agree or disagree with the premise, but usually when municipalities craft resolutions like this, it's done with the benefit of a lot of information provided to support the whereas clauses. And in this case, we don't have the background information. All we have is the whereases, and it's not that I don't believe them, but I don't have the background to either support or not support. That's why I prefer in resolutions like these to simply receive them. So I'm not going to support the resolution.
Councillor Oakley?
Through the mayor, just in regards to the statistics, they came from our report that we received just this beginning of September in regards to housing affordability. So the statistics are recently from our staff.
Councillor Miller?
Yeah, just I like resolutions that are crafted with us in mind, for us. And there's some good things in here I like. Obviously, and we know this, we talked about, Lucas and I, and we talked about social services, how Ontario works in ODSP. People haven't gotten a raise in years. It's ridiculous. I could support a resolution calling on the provincial government to increase those. I will say, I'm not a big fan of governments getting involved with economics because they get it wrong every single time. Whether it's rent control, whether it's the anti-gouging when there's a disaster, these things tend to work the opposite of the way they're supposed to work. So I read it. and I'm not quite sure I'm not quite sure what we're trying to accomplish with this. Let me put it that way. I read it and I still don't quite understand.
Any other questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Which takes us to 7.2.2. Councillor Oakley.
Thank you, Mayor Barely. Again, I will just read the therefore clauses as the resolution is in front of everybody. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Brant supports the call of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario for the Government of Ontario to introduce legislation to strengthen municipal codes of conduct and compliance with them in consultation with the municipal governments. Also, be it resolved that the legislation encompass the Association of Municipalities of Ontario's recommendations for updating the municipal codes of conduct to account for workplace safety and harassment, creating a flexible administrative penalty regime adapted to the local economic and financial circumstances of municipalities across Ontario, increasing training of municipal integrity commissioners to enhance consistency of investigations and recommendations across the province, allowing municipalities to apply to a member of the judiciary to remove a sitting member if recommended through the report of a municipal integrity commissioner, and prohibit a member so removed from sitting for election in the term of removal and the subsequent term of office.
Seeking a seconder. Councillor Bell. Comments? Councillor Chambers.
Again, I don't support this resolution for some of the similar things I said in the last resolution, but in this case, I do not believe that municipal elected municipal representatives have the or should have the right to disqualify one of their members. That should be left up to the voters. And in this particular resolution, it's advocating that the municipalities have the ability to unilaterally remove one of the members, and I don't agree with that.
Any other comments? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And carried. Thank you. And Councillor Oakley, you have one more, 7.2.3.
Thank you. Through the mayor, therefore be it resolved that the County of Brant formally endorses the call for a new just transition transfer by the town of Severn, and be it further resolved that the County of Brant urges the federal government to establish a new just transition transfer, starting with a major financial commitment in the next federal budget, and will write to the federal ministers concerned expressing this support, and be it further resolved that this resolution be circulated to all municipalities.
Questions? Councillor Chambers.
Again, similar comments, and I believe that municipalities should stay in their own lane, and this violates that, so I don't support this resolution.
Any other questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? Oops. Who seconded that last one? Councillor Bell seconded it, didn't you? You'll second it. Councillor House. All those in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Fails. We need a motion to receive, which one? 7.3 as information. All those in favor? Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Garneau, Councillor Coleman. Now we have to call the vote. All those in favor to receive? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we're on to number 8.1, which are committee reports. The ad hoc committee report, September the 5th. Councillor Oakley, that's yours.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Garneau that the Grants Ad Hoc Committee report of September 5th, 2023 be approved.
Seeking a seconder. Councillor Garneau, are there questions to the report? This is the Grants Ad Hoc Committee that we formed. No questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.2, Policy Development Committee report, and that's Councillor Coleman's.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Bell, that the Policy Development Committee report of September 5th, 2022 be approved, noting there are 6 items.
Are there questions for Councillor Coleman on his report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.4, which is the Planning and Development Committee report, and that's Councillor Chambers'. Oh, did I miss it? Just a minute. I'm sorry. 8.3, Paramedic Services Committee report, and that's Councillor Miller's.
I was counting on you, Mr. Mayor, but
Sorry
you let
about
me
that.
down.
Sorry about that.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Pierce, that the Paramedic Services Committee reports of September 11th and 18th, 2023 be approved. And I'd like to speak to it when I can, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely, Councillor Miller.
In this report are the budget for 2024. The numbers are a little high. The budget itself is not, it's a stand-pat budget. We are bringing on another ambulance for a full year. It was a half year last year, so that's part of the increase. So, but I think it should be pointed out that everything in that budget is stand pat, and then there one additional item that we kind of lowered a bit. But I just want to give kudos to staff for doing what they could. It was initially a higher, and they did what they could. So we are hopefully approving it tonight. It's gone to the city, so we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Any questions to the report in front of you? It was a very interesting budget meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we're at 8.4, Planning and Development Committee, Councillor Chambers.
And Mr. Mayor, it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor John McAlpine that the Planning and Development Committee report of September 12, 2023 be approved.
Any questions for Councillor Chambers on his report? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Which takes us to, is it 9.2? No, 9. Councillor Pierce.
Thank you,
It's
Mr. Mayor.
It's your report.
It is.
Okay.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Howes, that the Administration and Operations Committee report of September 19th, 2023 be approved. I'm not sure, Mr. Mayor, if it was just because it was our first day meeting, but there's 25 recommendations.
That's what's got me flipping pages here, Councillor Pierce. It's a pretty big report. There's got to be a question for Councillor Pierce on a 25-page report. Apparently not. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Okay. Takes us to number 9. Staff reports, 9.1. Who's going? Adam, you're going to speak to that?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, this is one of the final stages in establishing our administrative penalty system. The hearing officer stage is the final stage of appeal. The rulings that the hearing officer makes, should someone appeal an administrative penalty, are final. This report just seeks the appointment of a hearing officer to sort of round out the administrative penalty system. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Adam? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Adam, this fellow sounds like this. He was born into this role. Got everything there. question is, you said there's no economic impacts. Can you just remind us again how we're paying for this fellow? Is it on an as-needed basis, or is it being paid through the penalties themselves? Can you explain that again?
Most certainly, through you, your worship. It's proposed that we would pay him a per diem. He would probably only need to hear cases once every 4 to 6, if not 8 weeks, depending on the volume of appeals we receive. It would be anticipated that this per diem would be paid out of the fine revenues received through the administrative penalty system.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you touched on that in other reports, but okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Adam? Seeing none, all those in favor to receive the report? Oh, I need a staff recommendation because there's a bylaw attached to it. So I need a recommendation. Councillor Pierce, Councillor Coleman. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Garneau, you're going to remove yourself. As a Councillor Oakley also. Which takes us to 9.2. This is about accepting bids from JP Landscaping Construction, which is a company that Councillor Garneau is involved with. Are there any questions? Councillor Pierce?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just for clarification, this report is just to state the fact that we are able to accept bids from this company, knowing the affiliation with Councillor Councillor Garneau. Am I taking it from this that it wasn't allowed until now?
They're asking, actually Councillor Oakley works for her, so that's why he's removed himself from the table also. So I'll refer to staff as to why we've got this.
I'm just wondering why now, like a year into the term.
Through your worship, this was just an effort not actually requested by Councillor Garneau, just to remain transparent through the process and to make sure that we don't have to continue to come back to council anytime there may be a bid in process. So this would just be a blanket okay from council or endorsement from council that JP Landscape can participate in the process. And it reminder that it would only be if they were the low bid on a project also. Cindy can certainly answer any further questions.
Okay, no, and they're like, everything's gonna be the same scrutiny as any other bid that comes in. It's just the fact that we're noting that they're able to do so, correct? Okay.
Any other comments? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? I need to move it because it has a bylaw. Who's gonna move it? Councillor Pierce and Councillor Coleman. All those in favor? Carried. Come on back, Councillor Oakley. You're back. Jazz hands. Takes us to number 11 on the agenda, which is a resolution from the notice of motion from Councillor Coleman regarding Mayor Ron Eddy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Miller. Whereas Ron Eddy served county residents as reeve of the Township of South Dumfries and warden of the county of Brant for over 16 years and as a member of provincial parliament. And whereas Ron Eddy served as mayor for the county of Brant since its amalgamation in 1998 until 2018, representing the county's interest in various local and provincial organizations. And whereas Mayor Ron Eddy was integral to the administration of and building a foundation for the county as a single-tier municipality, bringing the former township together as a community of communities, promoting growth and prosperity, and advocating for agriculture as a key local economic driver. Therefore, that staff be directed to investigate preliminary naming options such as parks or buildings and report back to council with options.
Any questions or concern, Councillor Howes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not a concern because I do support it, but a question directed to Councillor Coleman and Councillor Miller. we had discussions at a meeting recently regarding staff looking at a fulsome view of how we move forward with appropriate commemorative parks, benches, trees, whatever. And I'm wondering, is your intention for this to be kind of at the top of the list in the consideration within that, or separate from that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think separate from that. I think this is a little more, I'm trying to think of the right wording on it. I think it's, we didn't do nothing after when Ron vacated the office. And I think it was kicked around by some of us and some staff, but things kind of died, and then COVID come, and a whole bunch of stuff, and it probably kicked my into gear here a month ago when we talked about doing something for some past councilors and whatnot. I think this needs to be done sooner than later.
Councillor Oakley.
Through the mayor, I similar to my colleague, completely agree that this makes sense to be honoring the former mayor, Ron Eddy. However, I also was under the impression that we had directed staff to develop a comprehensive policy that would include Mayor Eddy or former Mayor Eddy. So I'm thinking it's a bit redundant, but that being said, I still support the motion.
Any other comments? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I support it. I think, Mr. Mayor, you would appreciate how much the mayor has to work. You seem to be running around to this, that, and other event every weekend, every evening almost, it seems like. So, and Ron was the same way, very dedicated, hardworking individual. The only thing I would request maybe, I don't think we need it in the motion, but what I would do is the final sentence says staff be directed to investigate commemorative naming options, such as parks or buildings. What I would like to see is maybe staff looking at things that kind of align with who Ron was as a person, what his interests are. I know we don't have a distillery district to name after him, but he was into a lot of neat things like old farm machinery. He did love farming. So Ron, yeah, there was a lot about history. I have a stone from South Carolina that had his forebears on it when they first came over. I think that was the Mayflower. You could get something that kind of would align with, I think, with Ron Eddy, like you say, who he was as a person. I think that would be good too, if we can.
Councillor Coleman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that's why I kind of was leaning towards the parks, because Ron is a lover of forest. There is no doubt about it. You can name off every tree and every bush that was going by or whatever you're going down the road and whatnot and talk about it. So I think summers, if we're looking at parks or whatever, I think that would be a great idea. That was naming a street after Ron had trouble with his foot on the pedal on the street. So I don't think that would be a good thing, but I think a park or summers down that way would be a good way to commemorate him. So.
Are there any other comments? Holy doodle. The only thing I'd like to tag on to it as a friendly maybe amendment is that the staff also approach Ron and his family before we do anything, because he has been approached by myself and former Michael Bradley, and he declined. He didn't want his name on anything, and I mean, who knows how he was feeling that day. And so he said to wait until he was gone and then talk to Janice. So maybe the staff report could include a visit to Ron and to Janice and find out how he feels before we do something that he really might not have enjoyed. So if you can see that as a friendly amendment, that we talk to the Eddy family before we do anything and have that rounded up into the staff report that we bring back. Are there any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I think that's great. Other business. Councillor, who had one? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. as you know, some of us get the packages electronically, some get the physical paper. I prefer to get it electronically. That way I don't leave paper sitting around the house and drive my wife nuts. At the same time, I'm trying to save on trees. But I'm very, very frustrated with staff that I get the PDF on a Friday. I don't look at it till Saturday or Sunday, and it's a broken link. If that happened once, I could understand. If it happened twice, no problem. If it happened 3 times, okay, I'm starting to wonder. It's happening again and again. Very frustrating. As Councillor Pierce has pointed out, at the AOC meeting, 24 resolutions, almost 400 pages tonight, close to 400 pages. I can't even read these over the weekend. Very, very frustrating. So please, I'm asking staff, I'm begging staff to check those links, please, before they send them out so that they work.
Okay, staff is all here. I don't know who's involved with that, but please take care of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Through your worship to Councillor Miller, I can assure you, Councillor Miller, when the links do go out on Fridays, we always check them. What happens with eScribe, specifically only with the PDF link, not with the HTML link, is that anytime anything is done to the actual eScribe website itself, it kills the PDF link, which is why oftentimes you'll get a secondary email saying, here's the updated link, which comes later on. In this particular case, there was an issue specifically with the administration and operations report recommendation. So eScribe was working on that all day Friday into Saturday. I suspect what happened is they might have recompiled the agenda in their attempt to fix the problem. That being said, a very easy solution for this, and something which clerks has kind of floated around, you guys receive very specific HTML and PDF links. If we were to just link to the website itself, to the county website, where you would then have the option to click on the HTML or the PDF, then that issue would be resolved. So moving forward, we can implement that, and then that way, anytime administrative changes have to occur, that can happen without impacting that direct link.
There's your solution, Councillor Miller. Thank you. We'll try that and see how it works out. The other person that wanted to have something brought up under new business is Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I just wanted to bring council and those that are listening up to date on something that was discussed at our Police Services Board meeting this morning. As you will all remember, the school resource officer was taken out of the schools by Grand Erie District School Board some time ago. We fought as a Police Services Board to do whatever we could to get it back in there because we knew the importance of it. I just wanted to let everybody know that the review that the school board was doing has been completed, and the resource officer will be going back into the schools, has now been put back into the schools. They've kind of done a rebranding on it. The new name is called PROS, and it's Police Resource Outreach Supporting Education. So they understand that I think they got a fair amount of backlash on it. There was a lot of support for that resource officer, and as I can attest to with my own kids in school and many, this was relationships for life, and that's what that position is all about. It wasn't just having an officer in the schools; it was a relationship with the students in the school, whether it was the lower grades or the high school grades. It didn't matter. So it was very exciting news this morning to have that final word. We had Peter Ashen. He was the superintendent, or is the superintendent of the Grand Erie District School Board, was in today to talk to the Police Services Board about that, and they are quite happy that it is back as well. But I just wanted to let everybody know that they are in fact back in the school, so that is great news.
Thanks, Councillor Pierce. Anything else that anyone has? No. Takes us to number 13, which is in camera, and Councillor Chambers is going to take us there.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller, according to what this says, that the County of Brant convene in camera to discuss personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality or board, and in parentheses, 234 Cockshut Road.
All those in favor? You can't make this stuff up. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. We're back in open session. Councillor Pierce, we're going to ratify the decision made in camera.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chambers that the full-time position of aquatics and active living coordinator be approved effective immediately to be funded from the current operating budget, and that the funding for this position be included in the 2024 operating budget. And that the position of the property maintenance coordinator for Russell Heights change position status from part-time to full-time effective October 1st, 2023, to be funded from the current operating budget and included in the 2024 operating budget.
Everyone's clear what they're voting on? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Takes us to number 14, which is the bylaws. And Councilor McAlpine, put your mic on and let's do it.
Okay, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Kyle, the bylaws 9723 to 10723 be read the first time.
All those in favor of the bylaws, first reading. Councilor McAlpine, the second reading, please.
Okay, moved by myself, and seconded by Councilor Kyle, that bylaws 9723 to 10723 be read a second time, and all clauses preambles be adopted.
Any questions for the second reading of bylaws? Seeing none, all those in favor? And Councilor McAlpine, take us home with the third reading of the bylaws.
Okay, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Kyle, that bylaws 97 to 10723 be read a third time, passed, signed, and executed.
All those in favor of the passing of the third reading of the bylaws? Yeah, opposed? That's carried. Which takes us to the end of our agenda, except for the adjournment. Does anyone have anything else to say for the betterment of the County of Brant? Absolutely. Councillor Pierce. Thank you. And